work in creating this inspiring environment to discuss the future of Africa on the global market. This is an important gathering of some of the brightest minds and most committed individuals from across Africa and beyond. The broader theme of this conference, Reimagining Africa's Growth in Our Own Terms, is both timely and appropriate. For too long, Africa has been defined by external forces and influences, with little say in the direction of our own growth and development. We have been told what to do and how to do it, with little regard to our unique histories, cultures, and aspirations. As a continent, we have endured 400 years of slavery with devastating consequences for our economic growth and development. We've also endured some 75 years of colonialism following the Berlin conferences, where Africa was carved up amongst the European powers of Britain, Germany, France, Spain, Great Italy, Belgium, and Portugal. The economic systems implemented by the colonizers in our countries were primarily designed to serve the economic interests of these countries and not the colonies. The development of Africa in this period, of course, was not on our terms. But today, at this conference, we are taking a different approach. We are thinking about reimagining our growth on our terms with a clear vision of what we want to achieve and how we want to get there. We are embracing our diversity, creativity, and resilience, and charting our own path towards a more prosperous and inclusive future. At the heart of this vision is the transformative power of technology. We know that technology is a powerful tool to drive innovation and competitiveness in all sectors of the economy, and we are determined to leverage this tool to its fullest potential. By 2050, 1 in 5 Africans, 1 in 5 people in the world would be on the continent of Africa. Africa will also have the largest youth population in the world. Imagine all of these people are healthy, educated, and productive. Imagine the economic effect of their aggregate demand and their cultural and creative influence and power. Imagine the influence of African music and the arts and general contribution to everything. This is why reimagining Africa's growth on our terms is very timely and exciting. I have no doubt that if we chart the course to fix our problems on the continent, it will translate into acquiring the voice and the space we desire at the global table. So far, our failure to fix problems at home have made it easy for others to deny us the right voice and place, and even constitutes an unjustified excuse for others to look down on Africans everywhere. These and many reasons are why we absolutely need to fix our local issues urgently. To do this effectively, Africa must deliberately figure out and chart its own course and make sure we get it right this time. For many centuries, Africa has been at the receiving end of other people's ideas and dreams for us. When it comes to reimagining Africa, my imagination simply settles on Africa as a co-equal with other continents in the management of the affairs of humanity. An Africa which is in charge of its own issues and destiny and is respected for what it brings to the table, which is a lot. We should leave behind the Africa which is called to the table and told what to do, when indeed it is a major provider for everyone else, even though it is not rewarded appropriately. We should leave behind the Africa which is descended upon by others, dug up everywhere, and the treasures in its bowels ripped out and shipped off raw to power, and shipped off raw to power other people's development, who then turn around and treat us as a basket case only fit for charity. I imagine Africa at a place where it can assert its true power for the benefit of its people and their dignity wherever they may be, in or out of the continent. Ladies and gentlemen, after a careful assessment of our collective progress so far since independence as African nations, what is clear to me is that many African countries are trying to grow and develop with very inefficient underlying systems that do not provide sufficient micro foundation to underpin sustainable growth and development. The operative underlying systems in many African countries are characterized by elements including a highly informal economy. The colonial powers were only interested in the formalization of their economies to the extent that it furthered their objective of maximizing resource exploitation of the African continent. Many governments since independence have continued with and entrenched the status quo, and this has resulted in the exclusion of the vast majority of the population for the benefit of the elite. Another characteristic of the underlying inefficient systems is that for many countries, there is no unique identification for the population. In addition, our citizens are not properly and uniquely identified for many countries. It was possible, or it is possible, to be born in a country in Africa, live a full life, die, and be buried, and there would be no trace of you on the documentation that you ever lived and died in the country. The poor mostly suffer from this type of exclusion. Many countries do not have functioning property address systems. Many people take property addresses for granted, but can you imagine what it would be like in the United States of America if the address system suddenly disappeared? It just disappeared. There would be chaos. There would just be complete chaos if you didn't know where to find. You didn't have a working address system. That this is a piece of soft infrastructure that we don't really put a lot of value on, we take for granted. But there would be complete chaos in the economy of any modern country if the address system completely disappeared. But this is what African nations, for the most part since independence, have been living with. There haven't been these address systems. The majority of the population in many African countries are excluded from the financial system with no access to bank accounts. The poor and rural folks are even intimidated to step into a bank, to open a bank account on financial savings, interest rates, and economic growth. The payment system, another element, in many of our countries is dominated by cash, which makes it very inefficient and not transparent. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, to conclude, Africa missed the first industrial revolution, which saw the transition from manual scale production to mechanized production in agriculture and goods like textiles, mostly powered by steam and coal energy. Then we missed the second industrial revolution, where the widespread use of electricity powered mass production and assembly lines. The third industrial revolution, which was set off by the introduction of computers, also did not see Africa jump on and develop like others. We are now in the fourth industrial revolution, where the technologies have come together in a global network to create the internet, which is the greatest machine ever created by mankind. And using that to also energize tools and equipment to make them smart, to create Internet of Things and artificial intelligence, which have opened up amazing possibilities with no end in sight. AI is a major opportunity for Africa to increase growth and development. I know there's a lot of talk about ChatGPT and all of the dangerous elements that it could involve. But, you know, we just have to make sure we direct the use of this as a tool so that we can help our people. Imagine a nurse or a doctor using ChatGPT, or a teacher. It just can help them to improve. So I think that we should look at the opportunities and try to maximize them. African governments must ensure that we do not miss out on this opportunity. Establishing an economy with strong digital foundations is the surest way for Africa to take full advantage of this great new world. We must forget about the past and also forget about incremental progress. Just like we skipped landline phones and moved straight to cell phones, just like we skipped universal banking for all and have implemented digital banking systems on mobile phones for our people, which have taken up in the millions. We must build and use digital platforms like we have done and even surpass some developed economies in some areas. We can move ahead in other sectors as well. The advantage Africa has in this area is that we don't have the burden of the legacy systems to worry about. We can just leapfrog. Indeed, we have no choice if we want to reimagine our own development and grow on our own terms instead of others deciding that we are only fit to be a source of raw materials and migrant labor. We are redefining and reimagining our growth on our own terms. We are not being asked, for example, to do this by the World Bank or the IMF. The truth is that African countries are politically free. While we are politically free, we still have a mindset that is shackled by the experience of 500 years of slavery and colonialism. For the longest time, we have not believed in ourselves. The dominant mindset is one of impossibility. Our generation needs to break the shackles of the impossibility mindset and embrace the mindset of possibility. It is time for us to figure out the best ways to be masters of our destiny, to chart our own path and develop on our own terms. It is possible. Thank you very much for your attention.